Good evening. Welcome to News Now on TV360. I'm Thelma Okoro. As Nigeria's general elections draw closer, the governors of 3 northeastern states was affected by the Boko Haram insurgency have insisted that elections will take place in their states. Governors of Borno, Adamawa and Yobe states, who met behind closed doors with Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan on Tuesday, said elections will hold in their states next month, despite the security challenges posed by Boko Haram. Security chiefs and some ministers also attended the meeting held earlier on Tuesday. There have been fears that general elections may not take place in the 3 states, which are considered to be the major operational theater of the Boko Haram sect. Yobe State Governor Alhaji Ibrahim Gaidam told State House correspondents after the meeting that the governors had told the president to deploy more troops ahead of the general elections, as the ones available were not enough to handle the security situation in the region. Borno State Governor Alhaji Kashim Shettima, on his part, said elections must hold in the affected states to send a strong signal to the insurgents. President Jonathan had on May 14, 2013, declared a 6-month state of emergency in the 3 states and renewed it twice at the peak of the sect's activities. His attempt to further renew the emergency rule in November last year was rejected by the nation's National Assembly. The 35 policemen who went missing after Boko Haram insurgents invaded a police mobile force training camp at Goza, Borno State, northeast Nigeria last year are still not found. Suleiman Abba, the Inspector General of Police, confirmed this Monday at a ceremony held at the police mobile force in Abuja. At the ceremony, 6 families of the policemen were given 500,000 naira each and material gifts by the force headquarters. The police also promised to pay the wives of the officers the salaries of their missing husbands for 1 year. The IG also said that the search for the officers would continue until they were either found dead or alive. The movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta MEND, a militant group which took arms against the Nigerian government in the heat of the Niger Delta crisis, has said that Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan does not deserve a second term in office. MEND also expressed its support for the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Alhaji Muhammadu Buhari, adding that its decision was based on what it terms the pathetic state of the nation's economy. A statement signed by the spokesperson of the militant group, Jomo Gbomo, accused President Jonathan of showing disregard for those who had voted him into power. It gave instances of how the president refused to declare his assets against the provisions of the Constitution, adding that Jonathan has set up several committees since assuming office without implementing any of the committee's reports since he entered into his post. The militant group also described President Jonathan's statements that his administration was planning to fight corruption as laughable, maintaining that his inability to prosecute any corrupt government official had shown that he was incapable of tackling corruption in Nigeria. The industrial action embarked upon by the Nigerian judiciary workers has stalled further hearing in the coroner's inquest into the collapse of a building within the Synagogue Church of All Nations. The inquest, which was instituted under the Lagos State coroner's system to unravel the cause of the building collapse, has now experienced further delays as a result of the strike. A total of 116 persons, mostly South Africans visiting the church at the time, were killed when the 6-story building collapsed on September 12 last year. Members of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria on Monday commenced an indefinite nationwide strike in compliance with the directive of the nation's National Executive Committee. The strike, the union said, was to protest the non-compliance of state governments with the court order on financial autonomy for the judiciary. Activities in different courts across the nations have been crippled as a result of the industrial actions impacted by the union. Nigeria's federal government has promised that there will be more funds for health programs in 2015. The Supervising Minister of Health, Dr. Haliru Al-Hassan, Tuesday said there will be more money in the current year for all the key health programs in the country. Al-Hassan said that this will be made possible with the recent assent given to the National Health Bill by President Goodluck Jonathan. He said the policy will also translate into the provision of adequate and efficient healthcare services to Nigerians by the federal government. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, News Now will continue.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on TV360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Welcome back to News Now. To business, the price of Brent crude oil has fallen to a new 5.5-year low of $52 per barrel, its lowest since May of 2009. Brent lost as much as 3% earlier on Tuesday to $51.23 before recovering. It follows Monday's 6% plunge in prices. The fall appeared to have been prompted by Saudi Arabia's cutting prices to Europe. At the same time, the United Kingdom, which is OPEC's largest oil-producing nation, raised them for Asian customers. U.S. oil fell further on Tuesday to $48.54 per barrel, having fallen below the symbolic threshold of $50 per barrel for the first time since April 2009. On Monday, the prices of both Brent and U.S. oil, also known as West Texas Intermediate crude, have now fallen by more than 50% since mid-2014. Investors are worried that a combination of global oversupply and weak oil demand could cause prices to tumble further, and that could be further bad news for Nigeria, which has been forced to review its national budget downwards twice as a result of the continued fall in global oil prices. About 19% of Nigeria's revenue is derived from the sale of crude, and authorities have already warned of a tough 2015 if prices do not rally up. An Israeli military court has sentenced a Palestinian man to 3 life terms for the abduction and murder of 3 Israeli teenagers in the West Bank. Hussam Kouamaseh, a member of Hamas, must also pay $63,000 in compensation to the victims' families. 2 other suspects were shot dead by Israeli forces in Hebron in September. The teenagers' murders in June set off an escalating cycle of violence and led to a 50-day conflict between Israel and Palestinian militants in Gaza. The teenagers went missing at a road junction between Jerusalem and Hebron as they hitchhiked home on the 12th of June last year. Their bodies were found almost 3 weeks later in a nearby valley. The Israeli authorities launched a crackdown on Hamas in the West Bank following the abduction and quickly identified 2 of the group's operatives as suspects. To sports, Super Eagles goalkeeper Vincent Enyama has emerged winner of the Gold Nigeria Player of the Year 2014. The Lion player led the field that included stars like Ahmed Musa, Obafemi Martins, Umfon Udo, and Ikechukwu Uche, with an overwhelming 55% of votes cast on the website between December 1st to 5th, 2014. The 32-year-old player accepted the award at his club in France on Monday. Enyama is only the second player to win the Gold Nigeria Player of the Year award, following John Mikel Obi's dominance in the past 2 years. The World Cup was a game-changer for Enyama, who led the Super Eagles to a round of 16 for the first time since 1998. FIFA Vice President Prince Ali bin Al Hussein has announced his intention to contest in the 2015 FIFA presidential elections. Prince Ali, who is also the president of Jordan Football Association and a member of FIFA Executive Council, will compete against current President Sepp Blatter and Frenchman Jerome Champagne. In a statement released on the Jordan Football Association's website, Prince Ali said his decision to seek this presidency of FIFA was because he believed it was time to shift the focus away from administrative controversy and back to the sport. Prince Ali also served as the president of the Jordan Football Association since 1999 and a year later founded the West Asian Football Federation, which constitutes of 13 different nations. His major opponent will be the current president of FIFA, Sepp Blatter. Blatter has held his position as FIFA president since 1998 and will be running for a fifth term. However, his reign has come under severe scrutiny in recent months following the scandal which has engulfed the governing body over its decision to award the 2018 and 2022 World Cups to Russia and Qatar respectively. The election will be held at the 65th FIFA Congress in Zurich of May 29 this year. Days after confirming he was leaving English football club Liverpool, Steven Gerrard is on the brink of finalizing an 18-month deal to join Los Angeles Galaxy. The 34-year-old will sign a contract worth around $4 million per year, making him one of the top earners in Major League Soccer. An announcement from the club is expected this week following Friday's shocking news that Gerrard will quit Liverpool at the end of the season. He will be available to join the Galaxy once his Reds contract expires in June. David Beckham famously spent 5 years at the LA club until 2012, while Gerrard's ex-Liverpool teammate Robbie Keane also currently plays for the Galaxy. Gerrard called the decision to leave Liverpool the toughest decision of his life. The 34-year-old out of his contract this summer joined the Reds when he was just 9 years old and has scored 180 goals in 695 games for the club. We've come to the end of news now. We thank you very much for joining us. I'm Thelma Okoro.